The problem is there's too much we don't know. It's like opening a book and starting from the middle, or try to imagine what a jigsaw puzzle looks like when all you have is a few random pieces, right? And not even the helpful ones like corners or edges, just vague. The trick is you find two pieces that connect. Then at least you have a place to start.
Hello everyone, welcome to Geek Anime channel. My name is Igor and we're continuing to analyze from today's season 1 episode 4. This video is gonna be shorter. Couldn't find that many clues in this episode, but still some interesting ideas and some interesting findings. Now I can say that and be actually sure about myself, even though I have this kind of an imposter syndrome, but according to your comments, you actually enjoy what I do here. You do love what I find, and this gives me a lot of motivation to keep working. Obviously, I have different responsibilities other than YouTube. My life, my family, my work. But now and then I have some free time, and usually it takes me about 4 to 5 hours to make a video, and whenever I can I just run straight to my laptop and I'm doing a new video for you. And this is why I was so surprised last video when I talked about opening my Patreon page, and I already have 6 Patreons, which is insane for me. 6 people already supporting this channel in Patreon. As I told you, I do have an imposter syndrome and I have this voice in my head that tells me I don't deserve it, but still I know for sure that I will do everything in my power, my very best, to not make you disappointed. I hope you will enjoy this video too. So the first scene is we actually see Victor's box when he was a kid, and he's still carrying this box, and it has like a disco, some kind of drawings on it. I asked ChatGPT, he told me this is basically from the 70s era, the style, the design of this box, the whole like disco ball and the way these people are dressed. This all screams the 70s. I know that most of us really didn't need ChatGPT for that. We can actually see it with our own eyes, but still I wanted to make sure I'm not mistaken here. So this is the 70s, and we know that the actor who's playing Victor, he's 55, so you know, right now it's 2024, we rewind 55 years ago, 45 years ago, this is basically the end of the 70s, the beginning of the 80s. So this is probably when it happened, when Victor left this cellar and saw a lot of people are dead. Sorry, my ring light died, so I had to turn on the lights in the room. Anyway, just look at the Victor here in this image. He looks kind of dirty. Look at his jeans, look at his cheeks. He went through something. And we remember that in this scene, he obviously saw his mother leaving, he saw his sister leaving, but he's kind of clean here. So something happened in the cellar between this moment and the moment Victor leaves already the cellar in the morning. He maybe was just sitting there, you know, like holding his hand and got dirty because of that, or maybe it's just something that the creators missed and it's kind of a mistake. But once again, this is something I think worth noticing. Now in this scene, when Victor actually watching how Julie is sleeping, kind of creepy, but he's drawing her because he has a mind of a 13-year-old, 14-year-old. I wouldn't say that it's creepy, it's just basically someone who looks creepy but behaves like a kid. Anyway, he's giving her a gift, he's giving her this drawing. She's basically creeped out because, once again, the actor who's playing Victor doing an amazing job, and his job right now in season 1 to make us suspicious of him. And he's talking about a dream that is not a dream. So basically he's telling us about his process. Because he's been so long in this place, a lot of the things that he remembers, he already cannot differentiate between whether it was real or it was a dream. And he is sharing it with Julie. He's telling her, like, have you had any of those kind of experience? You thought it was a dream and suddenly you realized this was real life. So I think it's worth noticing this moment, and this moment is just for my own pleasure because I enjoy this kind of writing. Basically they are showing us differences between Trudy and Victor, and Julie's reaction to both of them. She was creeped out by Victor, and in the end of the conversation she got a gift. You obviously can argue how much do you want a drawing of somebody who made this drawing while you were sleeping, but still Victor came there to give something. And then she was so happy to see Trudy because she's a young girl just like her, and Trudy in the end just basically taken from her blanket and also took her shirt. So basically Julie is right now not exactly sure if she enjoys communism as much as she thought she would. We're moving forward to some detail that, once again, I don't necessarily think is very important, but I share with you everything. Okay, look at the bag that Boyd is using here when he's cleaning up after Frank was killed in previous episode. I zoomed it, I've seen this logo, I couldn't find exactly the same logo somewhere in the internet, but it does give me a vibe of, once again, the railroad, something that we've seen in episode 1, something that maybe in Farway there was a train station before. I have no clue. Once again, it's probably not a detail that's gonna resolve all the questions that we have about this TV show, but I do enjoy finding those little details, and if they are connecting somehow, basically just like Jade said in the beginning of this video, and they're actually creating a bigger picture in this puzzle, I enjoy sharing it with you. And I hope maybe it in the end will give us some kind of clues about what actually to expect from this place and from this TV show. As you can see so far, we don't have that many clues, just basically some interesting moments that I want to share with you. And another one of those is when Tabitha was talking about Thomas, their child that they're lost. She told like he was like a little monster. He was basically up all night, and when actually the sun was coming up, he went to sleep. I'm not saying that Thomas was a monster. I'm just saying that I enjoy this kind of a writing. When the writers are creating those kind of similarities between motives and themes, and we have those monsters in this place that are basically not really allowing you to sleep too much at the night, and as soon as the sun comes out, they're leaving you alone, just like their little kid. And then when Jim and Ethan are going to the diner, the music box turns again by itself, and the song there is The Last Train to Clarksville. Take the last train to Clarksville and I'll meet you at the station. You can be here by 4:30 because I've made your reservation. Don't be slow. No. I'm not gonna read once again everything for you, but we're talking again about the train. Okay, it's not like we have a lot of focus on the train, but there are still a lot of like knots and hits. And I read it a lot in your comments, and kind of legit question: if there is a railroad, especially when Boyd is gonna leave this place, why just not to follow the railroad and see where it goes? Where does it stop? I think it's one of the most logical things to do here in this place. Still, I wouldn't give it too much of an emphasis because it just sounds like something that maybe the writers could have missed. Now, if you remember in episode 1, I actually zoomed into the music box and I found every song that is basically specified there. And this music box looks a little bit different, and the song that we're hearing, The Last Train to Clarksville, is not a song that we've seen in episode 1. So it's either a different music box, and there are a couple of them, or maybe I missed something. Another interesting thing that I'm definitely gonna add to my board is Jade. We are getting to know him a little better. Okay, he's meeting Kenny, he's taking him to the cellar, and he's telling him that I have a pretty good imagination. I actually built an empire, a startup, only on my imagination. So once again, he's good at imagining things, but it actually applies to our theme of hope. We talked about the Matthews family, starting from clean slate after a divorce. We talked about Boyd, leaving army, going to pension, starting a new life. We talked about Kenny and his family, talking about also starting from a clean slate after they were able to find their father wandering around the city. And now we're actually understanding that the reason why Jade and his friend Toby were a little bit fucked up when we've seen them in the first episode is because they were celebrating selling their company. Once again, what happens when you sell your startup? You are actually starting a new life. You don't know what to expect. There is a new door in front of you. And I can be pretty sure, not 100% because we're still talking about From, but I can be pretty sure, especially if we're considering the words of fake Abby in season 2, the hope theme is one of the most important and crucial in selecting those people who are coming to Fromville.
A little chat?
It knows you won't listen. It wants you to fight. It wants you to have hope that you could actually win.
Why?
Because hope is what makes you willing to suffer. Hope is what sent you out into the woods that day. Hope is what made you leave me alone when I needed you the most. It's not your fear that feeds the forest boy. It's hope.
In the previous video we also talked about the Chrominocle adventure and how maybe those stories intertwine, the stories of Matthew's family and what happened to the hero of this book. And when Ethan tells to Jim that maybe in order to escape this place they need to save someone, just like Norman did at the Lake of Tears, I cannot just ignore it, especially when in season 2 we see Tabitha trying to save the kids and actually somehow escaping during this process. So maybe saving those kids will actually lift the curse, if there is a curse there, but you know, the saving process, you need to save something or someone in order to stop this torture called Fromville. And then Jim leaves because Ethan was talking about Thomas, and Jim obviously still processing this trauma of losing your child, cannot even think about this horrible experience. And suddenly Victor appears and he's telling to Ethan that the trees moved 4 inches. This is 10 centimeters for you who's not watching me from United States. And he's saying that basically when the trees are getting closer, it's bad. So logically you can assume that the trees are getting far away, it's good. I don't know if it's exactly true, but my logic tells it is. So let me ask you, if I'm telling you that every time Igor comes closer to you, it's bad, and every time Igor is getting far away from you as possible, it's good, would you assume that Igor is a nice person? So it tells me that the trees are not exactly friends here. Okay, we're gonna see it also in the end of the season where they're gonna attack Boyd and Sarah, but still it was under a question, and I think it's another clue that tells us that the trees are probably somehow an embodiment of evil here in this place. Another thing that you can take from here is Victor said to us in the beginning of this episode that he's starting to remember things that he thought were a dream. You can easily think that trees that are moving closer or far away from you, it was something of a dream, and now he's starting to realize it wasn't. So he experienced already trees are moving closer. How else would he know that it's bad? Unless somebody told him, someone who can trust, and I can't think of anyone. And this is just another brick road in the path of getting more fucked up and more fucked up in this place. Something that started as soon as the 2 cars entered Fromville, and we're just already like a snowball rolling and it gets worse and worse and worse, and the only person that kind of knows what to expect is Victor. He's also showing Ethan his drawing of the boy in white. He's in the middle between the trees, he's like an embodiment of the trees. It kind of gives me a vibe of he's a spirit of the forest or something like this. He's very big. I don't know about you, but when I was small I drew those kind of pictures, and usually I try to make them realistic, if you can say it, and probably the kid would be way smaller than the trees. Here he is big. It almost feels like he is the one who is controlling the forest, and if the forest is bad, what does it say about the boy in white? Once again, it's just a theory. I'm not saying that the boy in white is a bad guy or a good guy. All I'm saying that there are some clues that pointing out that he's not very good. This is just an apology. I try to zoom in on this letter, try to do everything I can to be able to read it. I can't. Maybe one day I will have some, I don't know, AI or something like this that will help me to actually understand what's written here. But other than that, you know the map. I'm not gonna bore you too much. You know a lot of information about the map without me. They're basically just from every part of this country, of the United States, and everybody is from somewhere else. So it's also something to think about. Like, the selection is probably not random, because if it was, there is a good chance that somebody, at least 2 people, would come from the same state, but they're all like coming from different areas. And maybe it's once again just pointing out that the selection is very deliberate here, and they are picking up wisely whom to put in Fromville. But not only the music box, also the radio is turned on, also willy-nilly. Nothing actually affects it. We can look at the numbers here. I think it's 16, I think it's 8. Doesn't really tell me anything. Of course, in the season 2 we're gonna see 47, which can be related to the grandma Tilly, I think her name, telling that she has 4 kids and 7 grandchildren, and maybe it's a clue, she's not one of the good guys also, but still, so far it's just basically telling me that the radio can turn on willy-nilly if there are some strong waves around it. So the only thing I can think about is the lighthouse, and we know it has some kind of powers. See episode 6 or episode 7, it's gonna actually like save Jade, and it's probably also the reason why it's probably also a reason why there are problems with electricity in this place. Once again, just another theory. Anyway, we're moving forward. We can see Victor just being creepy here. I love this guy, okay? Boyd, Jade, and Victor are 3 of my favorite characters. As actors and as characters, they are the best for me in this show. But season 1, Victor did everything he could to be as creepy as possible, and he's actually taking Ethan for a quest. And he's telling him that he's the chosen one. He's been chosen by the boy in white, just like Victor was chosen a couple of decades ago. And he's giving him an adventure stick. And the question here is why? Okay, Ethan would have come with him, doesn't matter if he has an adventure stick or if he has this thingy that Alice did for him in order for him to be able to walk. I think it's somehow connected to the next episode, when Sarah is gonna try to kill Ethan, and we're gonna have one of the most biblical moments in this show. Right now they're just basically setting up for this moment. Anyway, they're leaving, and Victor's telling Ethan that the first time he has actually seen the boy in white, it was right after the 2 cars arrived decades ago. Maybe just like Matthews, it was also his family in one of those 2 cars. We can actually see a drawing here that I found on Instagram. And here in this moment, Victor is saying that when those cars arrived, I wasn't much older than when you came. Another clue that maybe he was in one of the cars. Maybe he's also experienced it like someone who was already in Fromville, because Victor's here for his whole life and he probably doesn't remember the life outside. But also when Ethan starts asking him about his family, about what happened and how did he survive, Victor starts blocking things, okay? I'm not a psychologist, but I do know what's a psychological block, okay? We shouldn't talk about it. This is not something that I just don't want to talk about. When he starts getting angry and he's asking like, stop talking about it. I don't want to hear about your kid that died, about your brother who died. This is basically telling me he has some kind of a psychological block, some trauma that he experienced. And this is also what makes me think that he probably went through a car crash. And we get to know the Farway tree, one of the most interesting riddles of this show. How does it work? We don't know. When Victor uses this stone with a smiley, he throws it inside the Farway tree and it just falls from the sky. But he's saying they are pretty temperamental, okay? It means they are some kind of sentient being, okay? They maybe understand what they are doing, or they are not just only random. Sometimes you can get inside and find yourself inside of a boulder or something like this, or you can find yourself in a very safe place. And I think for the first years in this place, Victor used a lot Farway trees. He knows exactly when they are taking him most of the times. And I think it's also important for the tree what enters inside. If it's a life, if it's a human being, maybe it's gonna be transferred to something else. And if it's a rock, it just basically spits it out, you know, like, this is tasty, people tasty, let's throw them to the cellar, or this is just a rock, what am I gonna do with it? Take it back, you moron. And another thing that makes me think that the trees are sentient, or at least something sentient controls them, is that as soon as Victor kinda tries to push Ethan inside, he's basically convincing him, ooh, you can go inside and find yourself in Disneyland. He didn't say that, but he was convincing Ethan to get inside. He suddenly starts hearing a bark. And we know that the dogs of this place, which are probably some kind of spirits, because I don't know about you, I never met a dog 40, 50 years old, and it's the same dogs here, and they are following the boy in white. So maybe the boy in white doesn't want Ethan to get inside the Farway tree, and this is why Victor starts hearing sounds, and he is starting to experience traumatic things for him. He starts to remember this morning when he went out of the cellar and saw so many dead bodies. So just look at this good boy or a good girl and remember him. And another interesting thing here is that the star magic symbol is intact, okay? And right now in our time in Fromville, There's already no star magic sign. So the question is basically, where did it go? Because we know that right now the only alive person in this place is Victor. So who took it out, or what happened that took it out? Because otherwise, why would you even remove it? Okay, the creators need to do something about it. They need to use workers, use people to tell them like, remove the star magic. Why? Because no, it has to be a reason. And the boy in white is actually coming to the same house where Megan used to live before she was killed, and where Matthew's family lives right now. So it is kind of a significant house. Why is the boy in white here and he's calling to Victor? Maybe it's also because Victor's family used to live in this house, and it's once again telling me that Victor and Ethan are very connected, and Ethan is basically Victor when he was young. And as I told you, the goodest of the boys or the goodest of the girls, this is the same dog, okay? It doesn't have to be the same dog during the production, but obviously the creators are telling us, look guys and girls, this is the same dog. And it's probably not immortal, so it has to be some kind of spirit, some kind of power, something mystical. Or I don't know, simulation, matrix, whatever you want to believe. And we have here another dog, not the same one, but what's interesting for me here is that most of the time when we see dogs in this place, they are kind of an agents of direction. They are telling Boyd where to go. They're like, follow me. With the boy in white, they were also like following the boy in white. And here, they are more of a deterrent. They're basically telling Jim and Tabitha, you stay here. You don't interrupt with what's gonna happen. And it didn't work because Gangsta Victor there was with the gun, and you know, he's like basically the most gangsta character there. He's like eating peaches, he's carrying a gun, he doesn't really care about anything, basically a gangsta. Now when Victor comes back home, he's starting to look at his drawings and he understands this is not dreams, this is not his imagination, this is something that happened. And we can see here a big fire and a lot of people around it. I don't know what vibe are you getting from this image, but I do have some kind of a feeling that the people around the house are not pretty afraid of it. It feels like they were the one to create the fire. So when we start to connect the dots, we remember the Civil War soldier that attacked Jade. He had half of his face burned. So maybe it was once again some kind of a sacrifice, and something that also supposed to happen in every cycle. One of the houses, one of the places is gonna get burned because, you know, when people get afraid, they tend to believe stupid things. And when you tell them like, you don't have any food, you should burn this guy and you're gonna have some food, and they're like, okay, let's burn this guy. And we have the goodest of the boys, and we have creepy guy. Once again, the boy in white, he's standing just like in the previous episode until you get in touch with him, until you create some kind of a connection like, hey boy in white, this is me, don't kill me please. I just sounded a little bit like Borat, please don't kill me, very nice. But you know, if you are in a good mood, and if you're excited to do something, you usually don't stand like this, okay? And if you stand like this, and somebody's telling you hi, and you're like, oh hey, wow, nice to meet you, you're kind of fake, okay? And if they're asking you how you doing, and they're like, yeah, I'm doing amazing. Dude, 5 seconds ago you were standing like somebody died, or you're about to kill somebody, which is I think more likely here. Let's discuss this image again, you know, of the booga booga guy, doing like booga 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 booga. It looks like a big monster. It looks like one of the main monsters. So if you look at the promotion materials, this is something that was advertised on Instagram page or from, and it's written the monster, not one of the monsters, not, I don't know, some crazy alien with red eyes or something like this. It's the monster. Okay, so it's probably we have some kind of a huge antagonist here, maybe a monster who lives underground, I don't know, but it doesn't look like any of the monsters that we've seen so far. It doesn't look like those that killed Frank or Megan or anything. It looks like a guy wearing a mask, and I don't know, it looks like more of a comic villain, the Reverse Flash or something like this, but we're not in DC and not in Marvel, so it has to be something else. The Farway 3, the episode 7 probably, okay, the massacre that happened. I think that what we're gonna see in episode 7, this is the cycle once again trying to repeat itself, and this time a lot of people were able to be saved, and during Victor's cycle probably didn't. Once again, it's just my speculation. And this is, I think, one of the most interesting moments for me personally in this episode, when the Jim and Tabitha, they're talking to Boyd and they've been arguing already for a lot of time. We've seen them argue when Ethan was taken by Victor. We've seen them argue before that. They cannot actually fix their relationship, and when they're sitting, the music box suddenly turns on and it plays Blue by Johnny Mitchell, and they're like, oh, that's summer in Texas. So once again, logical conclusion here is they probably had some summer in Texas, maybe their first year, maybe their honeymoon, maybe basically some kind of a pleasant memory for both of them, which reminds them how amazing their relationship was and still can be. So it looks like almost this music box is trying to heal their relationship, and it's not that much of a stretch, because once again, when we move forward to episode, I think 6, when Boyd is basically like, give me a sign, oh please my dear wife that I killed, give me a sign, should I go out and try to find a way out for everybody in this place, or it's way too dangerous? And suddenly the music box turns on and we can hear If I Had a Boat, basically the song that connects between two of them, and the song that tells about a freedom of movement and go Boyd, please go. So we can see already twice music box is being used as some kind of a manipulation technique. Okay, and Ethan also, when he was talking to Tabitha, he said to her, this place is trying to harm you, but it also tries to help you. So maybe it actually tries to help us, our character's story, through the music box. It's just one of the instruments. And if my theory is correct, and all the electricity is being produced in the lighthouse, so someone who controls the lighthouse is actually trying to help. But once again, it just contradicts what we already told about the boy in white. And if he's trying to help because it looks like he's the one who's controlling the lighthouse, or he's actually one of the bad guys. So you see, when I tell you you're not gonna get answers in these videos, probably even more questions, this is what I talk about. I'm never gonna try to put answers and theories above the clues. We're just gathering the clues and trying to get to some kind of a conclusion. And if it doesn't sound logical, I'm not gonna force myself or the narrative or other clues just to prove my theory. This is not the point of those videos. And another interesting moment in the end of this episode, and please think with me here, okay? We've seen Sarah already communicating with the forces, the voices, they want me to kill blah blah blah, Toby. They told me if I'm gonna open the doors, we're gonna escape this place. So she has this telepathical sense or whatever that allows her to receive those messages. And suddenly she's getting a different one. She's getting once again the same message of kill everybody, please kill this guy and this guy, just kill everyone. But she gets this differently this time. Instead of hearing it, she actually can see it on her arm. And in the beginning, it looks a lot like those worms that Boyd gonna have in his arm in season 2. It basically looks almost the same. So I think the necessary question here is if these are the same creatures, the same force, the same spirits that told her to kill Toby and open the door, are the same that are telling her right now to kill Ethan. And I don't think it is. But you will let me know what you think in the comments, because I enjoy reading your comments a lot. And you want to support this channel because you are amazing people. And Sarah, just like Ethan before her, was also having a seizure. She didn't have a seizure before when she heard those voices. This is some kind of a different power, and there are probably different big players, you know, forces, mystical creatures, whatever you want to call them, that maybe are actually fighting with each other. Maybe they have different goals. If we are going to some kind of like a cliche story, there's probably a force here that wants to escape, there's probably a force here that wants to stay. We've seen those kind of narratives. I'm not gonna be too surprised if we're gonna find something here also, like in From. And I'm also not gonna be too disappointed. I'm expecting something bombastic, something crazy when the answers are gonna be revealed. But if it's just gonna be a decent storytelling, I'm not gonna be disappointed either. I'm gonna be sad if it's gonna become some kind of simulation, computer simulation, or if it's like a dog's dream, or it's, I don't know, if they're all dead and they're in purgatory and everything can be explained just by one thing. The dogs are because they're dead. The boy in white just because they're at the lighthouse, it's because they're dead. You understand what I'm saying? If one sentence explains everything, I'm gonna be pretty sad. And this moment is not a clue, it's not an information, it's not a theory. It's just basically me blowing some steam. Because if you live in a crazy place, when at the night monsters are coming and they're killing you, if you don't have some kind of mystical talisman that saves you, and you cannot leave this place because when you drive straight on the road, somehow you actually, without turning, without doing anything circle wise, you're still getting back to this place. And you have a guy here that used to live for 40 years and somehow survived and experienced 10 times more than anybody else in this place. And this guy starts suddenly digging graves and he's saying, I just want to prepare myself, not like the last time. This is a sign for you to start being worried. And not just like, oh, this Victor is just weird, but you know, kind of scary. No, you start investigating and you start building fences. You take Victor and you tell him, these pitches are for you if you're gonna tell me what exactly to expect. You don't tell me, no pitches for you. I know it's cruel, but you know, like this is a moment. It's not something to take lightly. This is a moment for gathering, everybody gathers, and we right now need to think what to do in order for us not to fill those graves. You guy with the mustache, you look kinda weird. Are you having some kind of stupid relationship with a monster? Are you that stupid? Please tell me right now, because I have to know. Anyway, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed this video. I told you it's gonna be shorter. I tried to make it as interesting as possible for you, but there weren't that many clues this time. Episode 5 is actually gonna be way more interesting, and as we're gonna proceed towards the ending of the season, it's gonna become more and more interesting. So if you like and enjoy those videos, more than 80% of you are still watching without subscribing, so subscribe, hit that bell to not miss any of my new episodes of my new videos. It's gonna be a huge support. And if you want to support me in Patreon and you want to check my board with all the clues, what I'm building towards season 3, the links are gonna be in the pinned comment and in the description of this video. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next time. Bye.